Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 324 and 325. In these episodes, we get to see what the Mary is capable. Not the Mary. Oh my God. That was so rude. We get to see what the Mary's replacement is capable of, plus its name, which I won't say here because I think it's cursed. And also,
cursed. Oh no!
Get to see Ace's power versus somebody's wild black hole power. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, and my tag is Kratos, but Shane is also fine. Whichever.
Okay, I've been saying it Kratos. I've been doing a short A. I've been supposed to do the long A.
Kratos is technically like more correct, but it's like most people say Kratos, so I just go with Kratos to not make it complicated. But Kratos is actually probably better. Yeah.
All right. Do you prefer that, or do you prefer Shane? Because I'll do whatever you like.
I don't know. First name's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. This is your first time joining me, right?
Yes. Yeah. First time here. I've watched Gabby do several from across the room. So there's that. But
oh shit! Wait, are you partners or are you roommates or?
No, we're partners. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so exciting! I have a couple that listens. Oh, that's so fun! I love this.
Yeah, she got me into you. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Gabby. What's up? Oh, this is delightful. Okay, so tell me why you picked these episodes.
Oh, so it's it's the last episodes of this saga, and the Water 7 Enies Lobby. So it's like this has happened with a couple of other like content creators who like read books and stuff. And at some point they'll run across this comment, sort of like, One Piece is the wheel of time of anime manga. And they just go kind of, and like, this is the saga where it's just like, oh no, there is actually something crazy big and deep that is super well thought out. And it's just like, stuff like, the introduction of like Luffy's dad and how that was back in chapter 100. And it's just like, you realize there have been all these seeds planted. And it's also just kind of, the most brilliant, like emotional crescendo of the series so far, like that whole stretch leading up to Robin's moment. And so I don't know, it's really kind of the saga that I think takes the series up to like a new level. And, so it's the last episodes of that. There's this kind of setup where the narrator at the end is like, this is going to be like this crazy event that like, goes down in history and everything.
Whenever the narrator chimes in, I'm always like, oh, okay, we're getting serious then. Because he's not around very often.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, it's a nice time to have kind of a discussion and a retrospective and just kind of, what are, and it's also always fun to like try to talk to somebody when like the next 700 chapters of material. And so there's that game where it's just like, what questions are there, but making sure to kind of like cut out any of that extra perspective you have, which sometimes is just going to be me going like,
oh yeah, I'm very familiar with that game.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act between like asking questions that will lead them in interesting directions while not also asking questions that make it very obvious this is something they should pay attention to because that would ruin the surprise.
Yeah.
I get that for sure.
And that's one of the things Oda's best at too, is like there'll be like a gag and it's just like, is this just a gag or is this going to be super serious and I should really like know what this is happening with?
Yeah. Okay. And I want to mention too, I wasn't ready for this, but I realized like Netflix, when you reach the end of a series, they end the episode and then there's no like play next episode, obviously. And then that series disappears from your like watch more list,
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize that this is as far as the episodes have reached on Netflix. So I don't know if there's, news about when more of the episodes are going to be available, because some people were like aware that there were more coming in the last wait that I had sort of between. And I don't know if I have to subscribe to Crunchyroll now or if they're on Hulu. I'll look into it. But I'm pretty much going to give up on having the dub version easily available to me for now.
Funimation is the website that does them. I think they've been partnered with Hulu, so that makes me think Hulu might have it. Or the Funimation site, you can probably get the dub up to its current, which is its own subscription. Or Crunchyroll obviously does have it, but you would have to switch to subs for that.
Yeah, I tried doing Funimation way back, and I don't know what the deal was, but their apps never. I had to watch from my computer. It did not work on my television. It didn't work on mobile. It was really frustrating. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that work this time, because I have a different TV now, but it's an older one actually, because it's a hand-me-down. So maybe even worse. Who knows?
Okay, gotcha.
Gus is asking if Funimation merged with Crunchyroll. They've been saying for literally 3 years that they're merging and that everything is going to be on Crunchyroll, and it still has not happened as far as I know. So I'm sort of like not holding my breath on that ever being successful at this point. But anyway, episode. Okay. I mentioned that I think the new name is cursed.
Yeah, what is that about?
What is Sunny Thousand?
No,
Thousand Sunny?
Yeah.
So right there, I think, is a really good example of why I don't like it. And it may grow on me. I think that the fact that I can't remember which word comes first, because in either way, it doesn't really make any sense at all, is kind of part of why I'm just like, what? And also the fact that it doesn't have anything to do with lions, which I got my hopes up very much that we were going to have like a title that went with the like look of the ship. But I shouldn't be that surprised, because the Going Merry was also a really weird name. And eventually just calling it the Merry like that did grow on me. I don't know. This is kind of a spoiler. Like, does it get, do people tend to call it one of the two words mostly?
The Sunny.
The Sunny. Okay. Yeah. I think I can deal with the Sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's better by itself, I think.
And it's kind of that thing, and I think this kind of happens with the Going Merry too. Like, it's got the face that's got that little smile, and it's a cute smile, right? So just every once in a while, you're with the crew and you look over, and the ship's got its little smiley face there, and you're like, Thousand Sunny, all right, let's go. Yeah,
the design of the ship is still so weird, but I really like it better than the Marys. Like, in terms of, I know a lot of people thought it was a flower. I think it's very recognizably a lion. I think it's like, I don't know. It has that like impact. Yes, exactly. But the Mary's like weird. I had that just thing in my head about how this dude sculpted himself onto their ship, and I could not get over it. So the fact that this is kind of not actually anybody specifically, I actually kind of like that better. So I think it's going to grow on me. But when they said the Thousand Sunny, it was very clear like that was the name they were going to go with as soon as he said it. And I was like, but what? I will say, though, obviously the names that like Luffy is suggesting are not better. So if I was going to pick between only things that they mention on the show, then yes, I'm going to go with the, remind me, Thousand Sunny? Sunny Thousand? Thousand Sunny. Okay.
Thousand Sunny, yeah.
Okay. So the episode picks up right where we left off, where they are fleeing from his grandfather's cannonballs. And I was really like not sure. I didn't think about the fact that likely this was going to be a moment where we got to showcase the abilities of the ship. And I should have thought of that. But even if I had thought of that, what it turns out to be is not something that I would have predicted.
Right.
Frankie has built-in thrusters, basically, so it can fly. I think he says for one kilometer only.
That's what he says. Just presumably around that distance.
It's fueled by cola, also, like he is.
Yeah,
is that right? I don't know why, but I just love that. This is so weird. What a weird choice.
Right.
But yeah, the weapon that his grandfather gets out. What is this called? This giant ass cannonball on, I don't even want to call it a chain. It's like on one of those arms that sort of flattens. Like what I imagine is in a Looney Tune when a gloved fist comes out of something and punches you. Yeah. It's on one of those sorts of things. I don't know what that's called,
actually. I don't know what the word for that is.
I don't either.
But, yeah.
This thing is so absurd. And honestly, I got agitated watching it coming toward their ship because there's like no way they're getting away from it. And it felt very unfair, frankly, that he was able to use this thing that shouldn't even technically fit on their ship, but that's fine. This dude is out of control, though.
It's like one of those, there's so many moments in One Piece where if you just like write it out as a sentence, it's like the most ridiculous out of context thing ever. And then they use their Coca-Cola rocket to get away from the giant cannonball extendo arm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the cannonball larger than the ship they are standing on, firing it from.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing is it's just very fun to see Frankie get to like show off what he can do. We get a flashback in the midst of this of him like coming up with names, and we find out that the name Thousand Sunny was suggested by Iceberg. Because everybody thought it was either a sun or a flower, I think. And I think he was just sort of trying to poke at Frankie a little bit, to be honest. I feel like he was just trying to irritate him a little bit by being like, yeah, well, you know, the sun. It's obviously not anything other than a sun, like you keep saying. And then we go to a sort of montage around everywhere our characters have come from and see the reaction that their friends and or family left behind are having to seeing their wanted posters.
New bounties, yay.
Yeah, this is really fun. We've done one of these before, right?
Yep.
Sort of circling back.
Yeah. Right when they like, I'm pretty sure it's their first set of bounties they get. And then there's the one after Alabasta where Luffy gets brought up to, I don't know if it was 100 or 120 or 150, something like that. And then now the 300.
Okay. And yeah, this is actually really fun. It's just always like nice to see that the people that they used to know still kind of like matter. I don't even know if matter is the right word, because like how much do they really matter plot wise? Maybe they matter a lot more than I realize, but it's just nice to like check in with them and feel like they haven't been forgotten, I guess, by the writer, you know? And I fucking love so much the reaction that Sanji's crew has to seeing his poster. You guys, they're so like, they're simultaneously so proud of him and enjoying this so much more because it is such a goofy poster, and putting it up with no concern at all because they're like, nobody is going to recognize him. That was really delightful. What is the name of the witch doctor, as I call her? That chopper?
Kureha.
Kureha.
Yep.
I cannot remember that name. I don't know why. Even when I was covering it, I literally called her by her name like twice because I could not remember it.
There's a lot of names.
There's a lot, but there's some that like really hit. Like, you know, I don't know why some of them lodge in my brain and I'm like, yeah, I got it. And then other ones don't. It's like meeting somebody and they tell you their name is Bill, but they don't look like a Bill. And so you just can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this, like montage overall, there's not a lot of like new information. There's one dude who gets mad about how the picture of Nami is too lewd, but he has it blown up to roughly the size of a king bed and put on his wall. The woman that he's speaking to, is this somebody that we know?
That is Noriko. That is her adoptive sister.
Oh, right. Okay, I forgot about her.
Yeah.
I remember now finding her lips that are slightly paler than the rest of her face kind of funny because it looks like she's wearing like very 90s lipstick. Right. Okay, cool. And what's the, right. The other one I wanted to mention is that Usopp's friends, even in a literal poster, recognize him, while Luffy and Chopper apparently still haven't put two and two together, I guess. What's going to happen there? We still haven't like had that moment. Are we getting that moment? If we're not getting that moment, tell me.
I will say that the most satisfying thing to me, it's one of those moments like I mentioned where at first it's a gag, but then it turns out really serious. So the whole time of Enies Lobby, Luffy doesn't know that Usopp is Sniper King. Mm-hmm. And Usopp, without the mask showing up, is what makes Luffy like get the will to stand up. And he's like, oh my gosh, Usopp, you came. And so it's like for Luffy, it's like his best friend who hasn't been here the whole time is suddenly here now. Now I can stand up and fight and finish off Lucci. And then
I didn't put that together, that it's like seeing Usopp without the mask at the time. Oh my God.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So him not knowing it's Usopp becomes like a pretty significant thing. And then it's just, immediately back to, if we get Sniper King again at some point in the future in the story, then that will come up again, and we either will or we won't.
Oh my God, I'm dying, you guys. I really am. Like, I don't know why this is so important to me, but I am desperate for them to figure out that that's Usopp. Like, and it's weird because impressing Luffy and Chopper is not hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I'm so desperate for them to understand who that really is. I think it's just because I know how much like it would mean to Usopp for Luffy to be really thrilled at his reveal. Like, Usopp looks up to Luffy in so many ways because of what a good fighter he is. And if Luffy were to fall all over himself and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're Sniper King, that is the coolest, which is fully what I expect his reaction to be, I think that is just going to mean so much to Usopp. And I want him to like get that moment. I really want it for him. It feels like when you watch a 90s sort of teen comedy and there's a girl that's definitely going to like get a makeover and be super hot. And you just have to sit through everybody like being shit to her and her dressing really badly. And you're like, I can't wait for the reveal. I can't wait for her to come out and like look amazing. And everybody shut their mouths, even though, let's be real, she was hot from the beginning and nobody is surprised. But that's kind of how I'm like, I just want the satisfying reveal very, very badly for him.
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
Legit. I really didn't think he was going to have rejoined the crew without that having happened. And the fact that he is with them and hasn't told them yet, because I'm assuming he doesn't think he has to tell them. Right?
Right. And, because it's the whole Sogeking thing was partly a shame thing. It was, I'm ashamed to go back and be with them without having, made his apology, which he ends up, having to make and stuff. And so, yeah, it's, his inner arc with his, self-confidence and all of that stuff for sure has made progress, but is not completely resolved yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's true. I just really like, he has come so far. And you guys know, his storyline just crushed me to the point that I wasn't seeing things from Zoro's perspective at all and was fully ready to just forgive him and forget everything. So at this point, I'm just like, oh, there's a cat. I'm sorry, guys. Those listening, there's a cat that just poked their head on the screen. Can you introduce us to the cat just really quick?
Yeah. The cat's name is Yuki. She is very antisocial. And so that might be like... no amount of and scratching furniture will get her to come over if she doesn't want to. So we'll.
Hi, Yuki.
Yeah. So
I love
maybe again at some point.
She poked her head in, saw that she was on camera, and was like, "I'm out.
Yeah, something like
Bye." Is there anything else in the flashback, or not flashback, the montage specifically that you wanted to mention where we check in with all of their friends?
No, I mean it's mostly kind of like what you said. You know, the only other ones we get, you know, another glimpse briefly of Dragon, but you know, other than that, yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that because that's like sort of at the end of thing. And I gotta say, I thought he looked really different. And maybe it's just like because he didn't have his hood on this time. The only time that we've seen his face so far was from under a hood, right? When he was like up, was it Smoker that he was talking to?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is going to sound weird, but seeing his hairline and like the rest of his face, like his chin as well, out of shadow, he just looks way different than I expected because it aged him a lot. Like he's got a sort of scruffy little beard. He's got a widow's peak, but it's just odd looking. And overall, there's like a sort of cast under his eyes. Like what I call this is the Omen cast. Because it's that sort of like makeup, like dark under circle kind of thing that is done to children in horror movies a lot to signal that they're like not great, that they're probably either possessed or evil or whatever. It's sort of that look a little bit. So he's looking a lot more ominous in this, whereas in the shot with Smoker, he just looked kind of manic.
As ominous as any hooded figure in a storm would look, you know, not really that distinct.
Yeah, exactly. There was just nothing like specific about it. It was, I don't know, there was something about the smile as well that he was giving him that was just sort of really reminded me of Ace and made him seem sort of like funner, I guess, for lack of a better word. He just seemed a little bit more, and maybe he is, but in this shot when we see him, he's got like a grin on his face that doesn't bode well for anyone. And it did translate the subtitle for me: the world's most heinous criminal, revolutionist dragon, Monkey D. Dragon.
Yeah.
And that is the last shot of that episode.
And there is this thing that happens where a lot of the characters early on have one design, and then when they get reintroduced and become more prominent, they have a slightly altered design. So it might be a little bit of both there, where he kind of iterated on his design.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to do a side by side now. I'm interested.
It won't come in quite as much until like quite a bit later, but yeah, certain characters.
I keep thinking that we're like a good way into the series and having to remind myself that we're like a third of the way in. Yeah. Kind of.
Basically about a third. Yeah.
The Florian saying we also see Vivi and Luffy's hometown. Yeah. Well, that was what I was saying. Like, is there anything specific? Because I'm guessing that what Shane wants to talk about really is the next episode mostly. So
I don't think there's anything else specific other than getting to actually just see people's reactions, which like you said, it's always fun to like see everybody back home being proud of our crew.
Mm-hmm. Whoop slap. Gus is in the chat saying whoop slap with an exclamation point. What does that mean? Gus, is that a typo?
I don't even remember. I'm like, oh, that's he's the mayor of Luffy's hometown. I shouldn't have forgot that. I'm a bad One Piece fan for not remembering that.
The mayor is named Whoop Slap?
Yeah.
Did I know that?
It was probably said once and never again. That's how these things go. Sometimes it's like mentioned in a data book. So, yeah.
That is hands down the weirdest of all the names in the series so far. That is a weird name.
Just to give you another example, this only came out, I think, in an SBS, which is like a Q&A that the author does in the manga every volume. When Sanji's first in Baratier and the marine dude finds a fly in his soup, the fly's name is Bachi. Oda named the fly that was in the soup that was in that episode, and his name is Bocce. And it's very important that we recognize Bocce. He has a name. He deserves recognition.
I don't even know what to say.
Right. Yeah.
I'm struck dumb. All right, Bocce it is. R.I.P. Bocce, we hardly knew ye. Oh my God, Whoop Slap is a great gag because he was pushed forward by a forum, so he made it to the top in one of the character popularity contests. He was pushed forward by a forum?
Yeah,
you mean the name?
Yeah, so they actually have character popularity polls that like are like official by Shonen Jump done in Japan and stuff. And there was a forum that kind of like crowdsourced a campaign to get Whoop Slap, a lot of votes in the character popularity poll, and it worked. So he was randomly just like in the top like 20 or 30 or something one time. And
That's
like,
really funny.
Why is Whoop Slap up here? It's just, okay.
Excuse me, everybody. I think we all should agree that Bocce should have been one of the biggest, most popular characters.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to do this, then let's fucking do this and get Bocce up there on the leaderboard. I'm just saying. All right. So let's jump into the next episode, which is truly bonkers. This thing is, I don't think we see almost any of our Straw Hats, do we? In this whole episode, this is pure Ace and this isn't, what is this guy's name? Because Blackbeard is the guy he works for.
No, so
right?
This is Blackbeard.
Oh,
guy.
He is Blackbeard, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have a beard.
And then Whitebeard is the pirate captain.
And he also doesn't have a beard.
That Ace is part of, and that Blackbeard used to be.
Right, okay. I thought this guy worked for Blackbeard because, once again, I am foolishly expecting their names to go with the way they look, but I need to really learn my lesson on that.
He's got a little bit. He's got a little bit of beard. There's a couple little lines there.
That's some 5 o'clock shadow. That's like...
maybe
Yeah.
maybe it'll get better.
If he made like a beard out of a shadow, that would be kind of fun. And it's just like hovered around his face. I could get down with that.
Mm-hmm.
But we start off with the newspaper being read by, and forgive me, I don't know any of the names of the guys that are with Blackbeard, and I'm not sure I'm supposed to yet.
They might have like name dropped a couple of them, but it's not really important.
Okay, so the guy who's reading the newspaper is the one that's got the like scope eye thing. Yeah. The musket.
Auger, I think, is his name.
Say again?
Van Auger.
Van Auger, okay. And we saw him, didn't we see him like a ways back on the roof of a building, like waiting for them somewhere?
Yeah, the first time that we get introduced to them, we see Blackbeard and Van Auger and a couple of the other ones.
Okay. So we have him. We have the guy who's like a mime with the cane.
Yeah, that is Lafitte. You don't need to remember all the names. It's fine.
Lafitte. I feel like I remember you guys telling me that because I specifically asked about that guy because he is hilarious. And there's a point later, you guys, where Blackbeard has been laid out and Lafitte runs to see if he's okay in such a manner that I giggled uncontrollably for a moment because he is prancing and his hands are like behind his back holding the cane. And so the prance really looks like it's a moment. It really is quite a moment. But yeah, so they're talking about the fact that the Straw Hat crew all has like higher bounties and what has probably gone down there. And, they're talking about how the fact that the Straw Hats are as close by as they are is fate. That they are right here because they are meant to take them out, I guess. Like the way this conversation goes, it feels like it's in media res. Like we interrupted and they were already, something had already been set up. Is this related to the like scene when they're introduced? Are they told to go after Luffy in that scene way back when we first see them?
They aren't specifically told to. No.
Okay.
I don't remember if there's. I don't remember if they say that they'd be interested in going after Luffy, but it's one of those things where just like, you know, any pirate that has a reasonably high bounty, like other pirates, you know, there's an incentive for them to go after them because, you know, they can turn them in for money.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, these guys are all just like getting hyped up, like we're going to go after them for sure. And as they're walking through this town, which they've clearly sacked, this place is like a wreck. There's hardly any people because apparently most of the townspeople have fled. All of a sudden, we have Ace on one of the rooftops yelling down to Blackbeard and is basically just like trying to, because he is the one that he's got like a vendetta against, right? Didn't Blackbeard is he sent to take Blackbeard down? Was that what it was? I'm so sorry, you guys, but there's a lot to keep track of this show.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So we got a little bit of extra context for it when Shanks met up with Whitebeard, and we learned that Blackbeard, while he was on Whitebeard's crew, killed one of his fellow crewmates.
Right.
And Whitebeard mentions how that is an unforgivable crime on a pirate crew. And so Ace is going after him because of that.
Okay. So Ace's goal is not to capture Blackbeard and bring him to Whitebeard, right? It's to kill him? Or do we know?
It's not explicitly stated, but like, you know, it would be reasonable to assume that Ace wants to, you know, burn him up.
Okay. So Blackbeard is, you know, very impressed with Ace and tries to do the whole like, we're not so different, you and I, kind of thing, and get him to join on with his own crew. And I don't feel like Ace was actually considering this, but he sort of like lets Blackbeard think he's considering it, I guess is the way I want to put it, because he doesn't exactly slap him down. It's not until Blackbeard explicitly says, help me take down this fucking Luffy dude and, you know, we'll be all set. And that is when Ace tells him, that's my little brother. Of course I'm not going to help you kill him, you piece of shit. It's it's an aggressive moment. He doesn't call him a piece of shit, but it's like pretty aggro in the dub, I will say. He's pretty like insulting, whatever it is that he says. And I want to mention okay, so I know I don't have to remember the names, but I'm desperately curious. What's the name of the guy on the fucking horse who's always like asleep?
That one I had to...
Pop quiz.
Yeah.
This one really makes me laugh because Owen hasn't been watching the show with me lately. He had been watching along with me a lot, but sort of fell off. And Owen has recently, what is it?
Doc Q.
Doc Q.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, these names are all over the place, huh? Owen has been struggling a lot with like overwhelming fatigue, and we're trying to figure out where that's coming from. And this dude just barely lifting his head as he's like sleeping on the back of his horse. This is extremely Owen energy lately. So I feel like I want him to watch these episodes to just see a character that I'm going to be like, babe, that's you. That's you right now.
The horse's name is Stronger. I remembered his horse's name, but I couldn't remember his name.
His name is Stronger?
The horse, yeah.
Stronger. Okay, then what? Then whom? All right, well, who knows? It's a mystery. So one of the guys takes a shot at Ace, and he misses, or does Ace burn up the bullet?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a thing. The last time we really saw it was sort of with NL with the lightning, but also with like Smoker and Crocodile, where it's just like if they have a Logia power, they can just kind of like respond to whatever's happening and turn like, so he's where the bullets are passing through, he's making his body made out of fire at those spots so that they just pass through.
Oh, I see. Okay, will you refresh me on what the types of powers? You just said Logia power, and I don't remember this.
Oh yeah, so that's fine. So Logia are the ones like Ace, Blackbeard in this episode with his darkness fruit claims that he is a Logia that's just a little weird. And like Enel with the lightning, anybody who can kind of turn their body into an element. Then there is the Zoans, which are just Zoan, zoo, animal, chopper.
Gotcha.
The other guy and the bull guy and his,
giraffe man.
Yeah, giraffe man, Kaku. And then Paramecia is basically the third category, which Luffy's is in, and is just kind of like anything not in those other two categories.
Wow, okay. So that would be like Robin's power.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I don't remember. Have they ever mentioned the Paramecia name before?
I don't remember. I imagine they might have, because I know they mentioned Zoan in Drum Island with Chopper, and Logia got mentioned with either Smoker or Crocodile or something. So it's probably, but it's not like revealing anything. Okay, Skypea briefly. Thank you, Gabby. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just did not remember that at all. Okay, so Logia is the type that Ace has. So he turns his body into fire at the spot where the bullet goes through, so it just passes through. That's kind of dope.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who's like, if you were going to pick, what kind of power would you pick?
Oh, of the, just categorically, like, Logia would probably be like the most powerful, but like in a real life situation, there's probably some Paramecia that would be like most useful. You know, like if I could use a Robin clone to like read books and like, do other things while like my main self, that kind of thing, so
that's a dream.
But I don't know. Zone would be fun too if it was like a flying one. So yeah.
That's true, because like I was really about to dismiss Zoan entirely as just kind of like cool but not real useful, but flying, okay, I could see that. The Logia, I feel like Logia's got a lot of advantage if you are into combat, which I am not, so I don't really think that would be. I want something like really practical. So yeah, I think that what I keep imagining if I had like a power like Robin's is just having hands coming out and like at the stove, just like frying something while I'm like chopping something over here. It would be huge help in the kitchen. That would be amazing. Okay. So he is just kind of stunting on them a little bit, sitting up there and showing off. This dude that fired at him, he then fires back like fire bullets out of his fingertips, which is honestly a great bit that I really like. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's not original, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Name of the wrestler type guy with the mask.
Jesus Burgess.
What?
Yeah.
Y'all.
Now, it's a thing. He's kind of like a luchador looking dude. And, in Hispanic culture, Jesus is a pretty common name. And so, it might be, it's
sure.
Less, but yeah,
like,
Jesus Burgess,
Burgess is not an appropriate last name. Okay, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
Wow. This is why I don't remember them, because they're crazy.
Yeah.
So at this point, Blackbeard is like, yo, guys, I really appreciate the effort and everything, but no offense, y'all cannot handle this man. So you should probably bail and I will deal with him because you're not going to make it. And just as they agree to do that, I thought they'd argue more, but they're much more like prepared to take his orders and admit that they aren't up for it, which I kind of admired. I feel like it takes a big person to accept their own limitations. And a guy that looks like Jesus Burgess, I expect to be proud and resistant to being told he has reached his limit. So I just was kind of like, oh, good for you, because he immediately apologizes. And it's like, oh, hey, sorry. Okay, yeah, I'll back off. And I was like, nice. All right. That's a good right-hand man. As soon as they agree, Ace fires on them anyway and burns a whole house right in half. And Blackbeard is on the ground just yelling because he is on fire. And the other guys like managed to get out of there. But it makes sense because, you know, when Blackbeard is yelling about the fire and how hot it is and how much it hurts, and I was like, is he just meant to be kind of a baby or what? And then we find out later, any like pain that he experiences is the amount of pain an average person would experience, but like multiplied a couple times. Which, wow, that is a real Achilles heel. And I appreciate it because his power is fucking bananas. So he really needs like an intense Achilles heel, or else this shit is unmanageable, frankly. So this is when he's like, all right, Ace, let me show you what I can do. You guys, is this like the most high level power we have seen so far? I feel like it is. I don't know though. We've got what's his face with the ice power, and that was pretty intense because he froze like the whole sea, like a bay, because they could cross to another island on that ice. So that was like serious. So I guess he's like on par with that, right?
Yeah, it definitely seems like, I mean, and even, you know, Ace 2 kind of like with the final thing where it like shows like the whole island or whatever with the, you know, and, you know, part of that is like Logia, you know, it's also like, you know, during Skypiea, Enel has this like thing with his ship where he has this like giant, like lightning bolt blast thing that he can like rain down on the island.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely, you know, we keep getting little glimpses of like this tier of power that like, you know, clearly Luffy and co aren't quite breaking into yet.
Yeah, no. I wonder how this is always the kind of things that I think of, you guys, but like imagine getting one of these powers. Specifically, let's say like Blackbeard's power. What did he eat? The dark fruit?
Yeah.
Imagine you eat this fruit and then you just start experimenting to figure out what your power is. And you just accidentally sinkhole your own home that you're standing in. That's a bad scene. You have got to test this shit out like far away, right? There's got to be. They should have like a sort of build, like an area that they allow people to go test their devil fruit powers in, and they charge them, and everything is like, you know, we've got it all reinforced, or we've got people in place to help with any medical emergencies that may arise due to this or whatever. But it's like a safe space to just sort of experiment and see what happens, because maybe you don't know the scale of what you can do. Yeah.
People would definitely need it if they're not, you know, like Blackbeard, who specifically knew what that fruit looked like, and so he knew what it was getting. But, you know, if you're going in like Kaku with the giraffe fruit and you don't know what you're getting and you get the bomb fruit, then, you know, good luck.
I swear to God, Kaku, I'm so sorry, bruh. That was too funny. Your fruit sucked. Your whole thing's. I keep thinking about him making himself into like a cube to protect himself. Mm-hmm. And like, is that effective? Yes, but it's like the dorkiest thing I can imagine. You know,
unless you really like giraffes,
I guess. I feel like even if you like giraffes, you'd be kind of like, well, I mean, this doesn't. I don't know, maybe you would. But okay, so yeah, let's talk about that moment, because he describes like memorizing what all of the devil fruits do. And he had his sights set on this particular one, right? Mm-hmm. So he sees his friend holding it.
Yeah, he saw someone in Whitebeard's crew, a fellow crewmate, who had it, and so he killed him.
That's why that's the murder that he's. Yeah. Oh, it's that. You guys, I'm so fucking slow. I'm so sorry. That should have been really obvious.
There's so many little details that, you know, sometimes a little connection gets missed.
Okay. So I feel like I'm surprised that it wasn't mentioned, actually. That, like, yeah, he killed a crewmate and he also stole a devil fruit, because I feel like that would be a pretty big deal. Is there only one of each fruit? I feel like I've asked this before, but I can't remember.
I don't know if that gets absolutely confirmed, but we only ever see one of each fruit.
Okay. So, all right, I'll say that, because, you know, I'm picturing them coming off of like a tree, and they usually have more than one fruit, but they may not grow like that. Maybe they grow like melons, which is just one per plant, really, usually, I guess. Actually, I don't know that. I'm saying that with total confidence. Like, I've farmed melons. I genuinely don't know if there's one per plant.
I think they grow on vines, and they have like little pods.
Like pumpkins.
Yeah.
So maybe more than one could grow on a vine, I guess. Yeah. Forgive me for this tangent, but this is the show, I guess. So is there a lot of like info out there about the way that devil fruits come about? Or are they kind of left murky?
There's none in the story at this point. No direct suggestions of where the devil fruits might have come from.
Okay. I was wondering if they were like, if we're using the melon example, if you grow a melon patch and then all of a sudden you notice one of them looks real weird, and it turns out that a devil fruit just like spawned spontaneously amongst other regular fruits, or if it's like a specific type of plant or specific place. Has that been mentioned?
There have been no references to anything along those lines.
Okay. You guys, I'm real curious about this, because, like, look, frankly, I would really want to track down a devil fruit if I lived in this world. I'm surprised there aren't more people that are just on devil fruit quests. Frankly, I would be kind of about it. But it's so risky if you don't know. Memorizing that whole thing.
And they're kind of concentrated in the Grand Line, which is where all the other dangerous people in the world are doing the same thing. So it's like, you know, it's tough.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So he stole this thing, and he tells Ace, "Let me show you what I can do. I control darkness." And at first, it just looks like a shadow that's like coming off of his body, and it's sort of spinning in a vortex over his head like a giant tornado. And I'm thinking, all the townspeople, by the way, those who are still left, and it looks like it's all men pretty much who have remained behind, I guess. But the townsfolk are seeing that smoke, is what they call it, and recognize it, because there's plenty of damage that's already been done. They're carrying some poor guy on a stretcher, and he's got it spinning in front of him. And I'm thinking, darkness, what do you do with that? Like, I'm trying to imagine, you know, what the possibilities are for a power like this in terms of the damage and the method of use and all of that stuff. And I think that I was imagining it. Have you like seen Shadow and Bone or read any of those books? I was thinking of it like the Darkling, and the way that that shadow can crawl over things and just kills shit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's so high powered. That can't be it, because this is this whole town, it would be a very different kind of ruin if that were it. But he then explains that its own gravity. He calls it the most evil power in devil fruit history. And I guess I could kind of see that because it's like really pure destruction. Other powers, there's multiple things that you could do with them, but it seems like this, it just fucks things up. And that's purely what it does. Unless I'm missing another use for it, which I probably am, because I'm sure it wouldn't have been revealed to us that easily and that quickly, all the possibilities for this power. She's just looking at me like, I have no idea. Who could tell?
Certainly Blackbeard is interested in destruction above most other things, it seems like.
I guess that's true. But yeah, he says that the dark fruit, he says, I've become a man made of darkness, and that it has its own gravity. And as he's saying all of this, Ace is really very confident that this isn't something to worry about. He just seems too relaxed. You know, he's standing there like, go ahead and try it if you think it's going to work. And I know that I respect that on one level, but also, sir, this is something that you genuinely don't know what it can do. So be more on your guard than you are, at least. But, you know, you have to look cool, I guess.
Yeah, that would soil the cool man vibe, you know?
Yeah, fair. So he raises a hand, and the sort of like vortex above him spreads outward. And it's a weird look because it's not exactly shadow. When they called it a smoke, that is kind of what it looks like. And it has, the animation has these weird sort of speckles that come off it, sort of that look like soot or something like that. And it spreads from him through the entire town. And there are still a couple of people in town who are yelling to their friends to like get the hell out as fast as they can, but they are not leaving. They're like just waving to them and just saying, yeah, get out of here. And like, guys, are you going to fucking take off too? Because this doesn't, and eventually they do, but I started to get worried. Are we going to watch like poor people get caught up in this, whatever it is? And he says, not even a ray of light can escape from its infinite gravity. To which Ace, on his little like island of debris, says, I mean, I'm standing right here and it's not doing anything. And Blackbeard's like, yeah, I'm not aiming for you, bruh. Just hold your horses. Like, I do really enjoy Blackbeard is like clearly having such a good time making this little presentation, and Ace is working his hardest to not give him the reaction that he's looking for. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I can understand that. I don't like being led by the nose either. And somebody just being real smug in front of me, I'm not going to want to give them the satisfaction. So I can really understand his attitude here. And then he says, what's the name of this one? Okay, this is called Black Hole. And the shadow sort of, I don't know what to say. It doesn't exactly rise up because it's still pooling around the base of the buildings, and like there's a wagon and stuff. But the light dims above it, kind of. Mm-hmm. Cat's back. What's up? Yep. So it's not, I thought that the darkness was going to sort of completely overtake everything, but it's almost like a mist, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. And all of the buildings begin to break. And, this episode, you know, normally I watch these from my television, but because we were having people in our house today that were like working, we got solar panels installed. The noise from their working was so loud. And I was like, all right, you know what? And I went to my computer and put my headphones on to watch it. And I have to say that the sound design for this part is really good on headphones because it is so much creaking and cracking and breaking. And it was really effective because I don't think there's like almost any music. I think it's just the sound of like wood snapping and stuff. So it's genuinely like off-putting. And yeah, all of these buildings just begin to like tip forward and collapse. So he basically destroys this entire town. And I'll mention throughout, Ace, utterly expressionless. How? Sir, you're watching a town sink into the ground and disappear. How are you maintaining? Okay. He's a professional. I guess he could, right? Like based on what we see him, the fireball he makes later. But I guess we've never really seen him do anything on that level, have we?
Not really, no.
Okay. So poor townspeople. Oops, sorry, I knocked over this bottle of nail oil I had over here. Ooh boy, I'm gonna have to clean that up later. The townspeople are watching. I feel so bad for these poor schmucks, man. Like they're just trying to clear out after these pirates came and ruined their day. And I think they just thought they had seen the worst of it already. And that probably if they like bailed, maybe they could leave the pirates to their devices and then come back. But they're quickly learning that there's not going to be a town for them to come back to. Like this is, oh yeah, Gus is saying we saw him destroy 5 ships with one punch once. I did completely forget about that. Yeah, I think that I just have not had a complete appreciation for the level of the Logia powers, I guess. And like, it is something that they have to practice, right? Like they can't just do this as soon as they eat the fruit. They have to sort of work up to being able to affect things at this level.
There is a comment early on where like it takes a lot of like, you know, training and dedication to truly like master your fruit's powers and stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the poor townspeople have to watch as their town gets just like sucked under. And then we have Blackbeard just standing there in this tiny patch. And then he says, all right, and now liberation. And he basically shits it all out again. And it's just shrapnel. It's like pure broken, you know, it's not like whole buildings coming out or anything. It all got crushed and like put through a food processor. And then it's just showered out. I'm really wondering if he can hold it in or if it has to be released after he does this. I'm assuming it has to be released. But if he could hold it within his power and go somewhere else, this could be a really effective weapon on its own. You know, like if you were on the sea, for example, and you wanted to attack another ship, you don't need cannonballs. You could just release all of this, like, what's the word I'm wanting here?
Debris.
That's exactly the word. Yes. But I have to assume that isn't possible. I shouldn't assume. Why would I do that? I always assume shit and I'm wrong like almost every time. But do you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, I would guess that it like, yeah, would at least still take some amount of like effort or stamina or concentration to get it out.
I guess that's
yeah, but
maybe he could like work up to doing something like that, but he's not quite at that level yet.
I don't know. Yeah.
Or maybe he is already. What do I know? I would like to just emphasize to everybody, I don't know anything. That's why we're here, right? It's the beauty of the fact that I don't know shit. Hooray. So it all comes out, and I'm still feeling like that's incredibly badass, but also it does take a long time for him to accomplish this. So while it's a really destructive power that's like pretty impressive, I felt like the caveat of, yeah, you can destroy like a town, but people can run and outpace this darkness pretty easily, right? I don't know if he was just like drawing it out for the drama of it, or if he can do it faster. But it felt like, okay, we've got a sort of a weak point there. And he releases all the debris, and then Ace just like fucking zaps him again with fire, which was honestly very funny. It just felt like Ace was just like, stop it. Just sort of. And then he says, but I already told you, darkness draws everything in, including bullets, swords, punches, fire, lightning. I don't get the ability for things to pass through me. And my pain is a lot worse, but I get a good payoff, which means I'm able to absorb. And he does Black Vortex and zeroes in specifically on Ace and pulls him forward. First, Ace's hat comes off. Not good, kids.
Not a good sign.
We all know when a character who has a hat loses the hat, shit's gotten very real for that character. It's a bad sign. Is there any significance to the like smiley and sad face on Ace's hat? Is that anything?
Not anything directly noted. The only thing I know about is that like it was the old drama mask that's got like the smile and the frown for like the comedy tragedy thing.
That was what I was thinking, but I didn't know why he would have that.
I don't know if there's a specific reference that's being made there or anything though.
Yeah, I'm curious. If you guys know, God knows that there's not rhyme or reason to plenty of costume designs on this show, but it's such a specific thing with him. So yeah, he starts to draw, and this is the first time I think that we see Ace genuinely look a little bit alarmed. Getting pulled in like this. Do you remember the first time watching this? Do you remember your reaction?
The year was 2011. It would have been my junior year of college in my dorm, and I blitzed through. The anime was up until, it was right before this. So I started reading the manga. So I would have gotten to this in the manga, and I was just so just eyes glued to the page, like, oh my God, what is going on here? But it's one of those things where it's like I'd read enough at that point where going into this fight, it's Luffy's brother. He's the cool guy. He's got the fire powers. He's not gonna lose here, right? But that's kind of what the expectation is, and so it's what actually makes you a little bit worried, and so it's that point where you see that he's able to do this, and you see he's able to hit him without his Logia, and it's like, oh shit. If he's gonna lose, that's definitely something that could make him lose.
Yeah.
So it's when it kind of hits. I was like, oh no, okay, well this might actually not go Ace's way.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that most of the time people of Ace's caliber don't die because of the fact that we haven't had any deaths of that nature in the show. Really, we've had people who died in flashbacks a lot, but it doesn't seem to happen that much in the present unless they're baddies, but even then they kind of tend to be okay depending. But that doesn't mean that he can't get really hurt, or at least kind of taken out of the running for a little bit, or and this was my fear, because what we find out is that Blackbeard can absorb devil fruit powers when he touches you. And I think that's super unfair. Just for the record, this is like, I feel like I said something about, is there anybody who can like take powers away or do, because there was an X-Men who can do this, right?
Rogue.
Not Rogue, because she kills people. Could she use their power on them though?
Oh, not use the power on it, but it takes away their power while she's touching them.
Right. Is there anybody who can like replicate their power back at them?
I'm not sure.
There's
Probably.
so many X-Men. Who
there's
knows?
so many. I imagine there's one somewhere in the annals.
If Owen were here, he would definitely know because he is just that guy. But yeah, I feel like I have like voiced this concern before. Like, what if there's a devil fruit power that like does other devil fruit powers, or basically like what's that Pokemon that can just Ditto?
Ditto, yeah.
Yeah, somebody who could just do that. And this isn't exactly that because he does have to touch you.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess, thank God. But this scene when he pulls Ace toward him, it's one thing to just be like, oh, I'm just going to avoid him in this fight. But he can like use his power to suck you toward him, which is really grim. I don't love it. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, he grabs Ace. He's holding him. And then he, when Ace tries to like use his own power, nothing happens. And he punches Ace and sends him flying. He doesn't use Ace's power, does he?
No.
He just takes it from him. Okay. So that's still terrible, though.
Yeah.
There is like an extra indignity in using somebody's same power against them, though. And I'm sort of glad he can't do that.
Right.
That's sort of humiliating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is humiliating. No offense, Ace. But yikes. We see blood. And Ace is genuinely looking a little bit shook. Blackbeard says something like, it's probably been a long time since you've had to take a punch, huh? Did you forget? That shit sucks. And Ace doesn't exactly reply, but I feel like the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
What this whole scene, this is just so wild. There's so many questions I have, but I know you can't answer them. So I keep starting to ask you things and then sort of cutting myself off because I'm like, you can't tell me what's the point.
Yeah. There is stuff. I can tell you stuff that you'll have to read and find out. Rapho, I can tell you what information about stuff that you should know or have been presented so far. But yeah, a lot of stuff might just be, read and find out.
Yeah. And then like regarding info that I should know, is it the kind of thing that like I should remember it and I haven't remembered it? Or is it that I could have put it together and I haven't because it's kind of meant to be a reveal?
Just like objective stuff in the story. So like just thinking of one off the top of my head that like comes during this post Ennie's Lobby section. So like when Shanks meets up with Whitebeard and Marco mentions Shanks's hockey. Well, any Japanese reader would see hockey, and the way that it's written in like the syllables ha-ki, but the word hockey in Japanese means something like willpower or ambition.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
That's just something that like, you as the reader are supposed to kind of have that intonation that it might be sort of related to that. And then there's like, just random. Sometimes there's something that's randomly dropped early on, in an earlier arc, and you don't know that it's an important detail, or you're not really paying that much attention to it. But then, like later on, it was something that is related to what you're talking about.
And again, so earlier, and I meant to say this, but we got very sidetracked, which is the whole point.
Yeah.
But you said something about how people call One Piece the Wheel of Time manga or anime?
Manga would be more correct, but anime is fine in the sense that it's just like this huge interlinked world, and you're visiting all these different places with these characters that end up coming back, and it's kind of now that it's kind of culminating into something. You don't know everything that's there, but yeah.
That was my question, because I haven't read Wheel of Time.
Oh, okay.
So I've been asked to cover it, but I've also had very sort of middling reports on whether I should cover it. It's the sort of thing that people are like, I wish that you had covered it, but I don't really want to go through it with you,
It's got some kind of problematic, again, it's one of those things where, in terms of portrayal of women at certain moments where, one might say that quote unquote for its time, it was good, but he's an old white dude who uses some problematic tropes in certain places. Sanderson's Cosmere is another kind of apt comparison to or Cradle, which you're going for, where something that is, well, Cradle's not quite on the same scale, but
it's a pretty centered story.
But yeah, just something where it's big and vast and interconnected. And so, if you really appreciate, and I haven't even gotten through all of Wheel of Time. Dresden is a good comparison. I haven't read Wheel of Time, but just if you like the whole aspect of One Piece where it's all these pieces are being set up over time, and at some point, there's this point where they start interlocking, and you realize that there's this grand plan for everything. And Wheel of Time executes that. From anybody I've ever seen go through the whole series, executes that really well.
How many books are there of Wheel of Time, just out of curiosity?
14.
And it's not done, is it?
It is done.
It is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was finished off by Brandon Sanderson. He did the last few books because Robert Jordan died.
Right. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of, was that he died without finishing. And then Brando Sando finishing it is what has prompted so many people to say that he should just finish Game of Thrones as well, which that would be interesting, but I don't really want to see that. Thank you very much.
That would be it would be very hard for Brandon Sanderson to emulate, for better or for worse, the stylistic.
Agree. Elements. He doesn't get his hands that kind of dirty usually. Anyway, sorry guys, sidetrack. I just was interested in that comparison because it's not something that I'm familiar with, but so he punches Ace, and Ace is crumpled up in the debris, and he says, against a world of devil fruit users who are overconfident in their abilities, I've obtained a means of attack that cannot be defended against. Which I'm not entirely sure is true.
Sounds like somebody with a powerful devil fruit being overconfident about their abilities.
Yeah, it almost sounds like that. Sir, can I get just a morsel of self-awareness, please? Yeah. So, as he is saying, you can't defend against me, he begins pulling Ace toward him. Ace uses St. Elmo's fire, and he does get contact with Ace and punches him, but the fire sort of hits at the same time. And y'all, it's a couple of nipple spears. This is straight up hilarious. I'm so sorry, but oh my god, he backs up and they're sticking straight out of his chest, going in opposite directions, and it's just nipple, just straight on. Y'all, this is so I'm looking at it right now. My god, it is so funny.
But help him. There's no women in the scene. He's got to have some kind of outlet. Just
oh man. So Ace, like, while this dude is coping because it hurts quite a bit, as it would just for a normal person, but for him it's extra, which is really saying something, because any burns, I mean, that's like the worst pain. Mm-hmm. Burns are truly unforgiving, what am I looking for? Merciless. That's the word I want. But then Ace does another. He does crossfire. And he does it with, like, putting his fingers in a sort of cross, like you would do to ward off the devil or something. And it projects that exact shape onto Blackbeard's chest. And I'm thinking, like, this seems like a real bad deal for Blackbeard. But the camera sort of zooms in on Blackbeard's face, and he's smiling. And doesn't seem that concerned, despite the fact that the fire lances to his titties definitely had an effect. He just doesn't really, he seems to have gotten control of himself by that moment. And I don't know if it's just that he's able to stop it, because it jumps to the townspeople watching the fight again. And it jumps to Blackbeard's cohorts, sort of. The energy from them is just, we're just waiting for him to wrap things up so that we can keep doing our thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And then it jumps back and we just see, like, Ace collapsed on the ground, but he is, like, the shot that he sent doesn't seem to have done anything. But we don't exactly see Blackbeard block it, because it had already hit his chest, I thought. So I'm not entirely sure what has happened there, but did Blackbeard, like, just absorb the fire?
I don't remember that part super specifically.
Is that something that he can do? Like,
it would make sense to me that, you know, if he does, like, the black vortex thing, like, at the right time and he knows where it's coming from, he might be able to absorb it. You know, presumably fire would also get sucked into the black hole, but I don't remember exactly what it looks like in the episode.
Because this is my question. You know, I said earlier about how he doesn't use Ace's power against him because he sucks the power out while he's touching Ace. But then when Ace shoots fire at him, he says, like, I just absorbed the power. I assume, I keep using that word. I had thought that because he, you know, pulls the whole town in, but then has to expel it again, that if he pulled in fire, he would have to expel the fire also. And that we would kind of see him use Ace's power against him, but we don't see that. So I guess it just dissipates if he absorbs it, I suppose.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I should mention too here, there's like a few close-ups of his face, and Blackbeard looks like evil Usopp.
His nose is a little bit long, yeah.
He's got long hair. He's got the long curly hair. He's got the long nose. He's got a much more prominent chin for sure, but he has the same really wide mouth and the extremely round eyes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just was like very uncomfortable. I was like, oh my God, we're seeing what Usopp could have become. Usopp with a devil fruit. I wonder if I'll ever get one. I don't know if that's the kind of show this is. Like, do people, I know everybody has like leveled up in their overall abilities, but would we take a complete left turn and wind up with people who have devil fruits after some time? I know you can't tell me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The possibility is always there, and you know, we assume that every member will continue to get stronger in their own way. So
right. Oh, Gabriella says if there's no oxygen in the black hole, maybe the fire gets extinguished. I like it. I don't know if that's like something that will hold up when he fights other people, but for now, I accept this answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is when he's about to like really start something up, and Ace in response uses Flame Commandment and then Flame Emperor. Flame Commandment seems to sort of make a circle of fire around him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's important to like remember the attacks, but just for the sake of it. And then Flame Emperor is like a sphere of fire, which Blackbeard compares to the sun, which makes sense. And I didn't put that together, so I felt a bit like a dodo. And he says, I'm going to make Whitebeard the king. And he's just grinning the way he do. We see him coming at Blackbeard, and we get a really nice classic anime style animation. I really enjoyed this, you guys. They're each like coming at each other with the smoke drifting out behind or the flame. I love it. This is exactly what I want. And then we get the clash, and the camera backs up to outside the island, and it's a huge fireball and a huge like wall of smoke with an exact line between them. And honestly, it's quite cool looking. Like this would make a really good desktop picture for a computer. But I couldn't help but feel bad again for the people who live on this island.
Yeah. They're done.
Like, right? It just seems like Ace is trying to help, but at what cost? I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to do what you need. And then we get the narrator, you guys. Oh my God. Whenever the narrator shows up, there's the decisive battle of Bonnero Island. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I can read it fast enough because the subs go really quick for this, even though he speaks pretty slowly in the dub, I feel like. Oh, right. And we see Ace's hat once again, like floating. Oh, bad news. I get very anxious whenever our characters don't have their little hats. Okay. So I click rewind, but it rewinds a full 10 seconds, which feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
Here it is. The decisive battle of Bannero Island on the Grand Line. The fight between these two pirates will be described as the trigger for a massive incident that is soon to take place. Smash to be continued.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big promise.
Yeah. Wonder how long it'll take to get to that.
Yeah, you know, the show says is soon to take place. I don't know what you mean by soon.
Yeah.
But I have to guess it's not what I mean when I say soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I genuinely don't know what this kind of like, because Ace and Blackbeard, you know, they're both powerful and they're both connected to Whitebeard, who has quite a bit of power as well.
Yeah.
Connected, you know, Blackbeard in so much as he is being sought by Whitebeard, but doesn't work for him anymore, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really curious, looking back, how much I'm going to really think that this is the trigger of whatever it is that's being described. How like key this moment was, because I'm trying to think what massive incident the two of them, I mean, they're like, are they going to just burn this whole island to the ground? Like, is that
right? How big is a big incident? You know,
yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to have any context other than knowing that Whitebeard, who is one of the four emperors, which is one of kind of like the balance of power, you know, chess pieces in the world, you know, has a connection to both of these characters.
Well, I hope that Ace tries to be as responsible as possible, but it feels like he has sort of let himself get provoked.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I feel like he is he says, I want Whitebeard to be king, and I don't even know what that means. King
just
of
pirate
what?
king.
Oh, okay. So like what Luffy is attempting to achieve. Ace, you're not even gonna like work for your brother to become king? That's cold-blooded.
Yeah, I don't know. Whitebeard must have earned his respect in some way or another.
Curious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm going to assume Blackbeard doesn't get killed. Well, why would I assume that? I keep saying that. I keep saying assume. Yo, when am I going to learn my fucking lesson? That's not like, that just doesn't ever pay off.
But it's like what you're saying. It's like, you know, we never really see characters die in the present. Two, you know, we certainly don't have any significant off-screen deaths. You know, neither of these characters being dead right here, right now is a fairly healthy assumption.
I really hope that what I was sort of worried about was that we would fucking see Blackbeard get to completely remove Ace's powers by the absorption. I was just really relieved to hear that it seems as if it only lasts as long as he's touching you. Right. But then he lets go and your powers are back. But I had been sort of worried, like, has he ever been able to touch somebody long enough that it doesn't come back, that he just like absorbs it all? And if so, I would hate for Ace to be the first person that he manages to do that to.
Right.
That would just be real unfortunate.
But
I hope that's not a thing.
There are also, you know, character arcs in other series I've read where it's just like a character with a really big power, you know, like gets it taken away or something, and then that like starts a new kind of journey of, you know, taking their own, you know, strength, not relying as much on their powers and having to come into their own to that. So, you know, that could, you know, at some point pay off in an interesting direction also.
I'm not saying it couldn't, but I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want that for Ace. Mm-hmm. That's one of those things where every time that it's like, oh, and now we're going to build their character and get the, I don't want that. I don't want to see poor Jaime Lannister, you know, like give him his damn hand back.
Yeah.
He's a better person now. I you know, sure. But also, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's because I enjoy people being competent so much that if you just like take away something that really gave me pleasure to watch them be really good at, and I have to watch them being bad at shit for a while, that makes a better story. Of course it does. It's just, you know, but I'm a baby who wants immediate gratification and candy.
And One Piece is definitely a series where like it has its emotional moments, but sometimes you just want to see some cool shit, you know? It's
true. Very much so. That is really true. Sometimes, look, this is why fucking Marvel movies are so successful. You know, like, we all appreciate high art and really deep storylines and everything, but sometimes you just want to watch somebody beat a Nazi into fucking tomato sauce, and that's fine too. That's why we're here. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to say as we wrap this episode up? Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you really wanted to mention? Moments that you love?
I think we were pretty comprehensive, I think.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you joining me. It was delightful to have you.
Yeah, this was great. Yeah.
And thank you, Gabriella, for getting him into it.
Yeah. See
ya, girl. Appreciate you. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. And I really don't know where we're going from here, so I'm excited. It feels like we're really turning a corner. You know what I mean? New ship. Who dis?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
was an Unspoiled Network podcast.